Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I want to show you some kind of very simple node setup that allows you to create um, a box and a container. I did a bit of research, and I think the box that I want to create is something like the one for Apple Pencil. So it's basically like a box inside a container, and it's simply slide in and out. Okay, so this is the actual like a drawer. This is the container of the box. I was thinking maybe in the future I should actually look at some other boxes and try to recreate them procedurally. Like the shoe box is interesting one. Shoe box has a little bit more details. The standard shoe box, and also Amazon box. It has this lid and opening. So for what we are creating, maybe in the future I will make something that's more like a lid and more like a bento box, or maybe even like a drawer or cabinet, things like that. Let's take a look how I created this. This is actually real time, and I can randomize it. So this guy, let's see. Oh, it's actually hidden. Okay, this is the original one. I can randomize the shapes, etc. But this is because I already turned it into a monad. Originally, inside the monad is actually looking something like this. It looks fairly complicated, but it's not really. Let's really take a look at this setup. I'm gonna delete everything. Okay, so this is the result. I need to bake the container and the box itself. So this is a weird one, but the design is similar. Basically something that you can slide in. Okay, let's delete. Let's take a look. First of all, before I jump into how I created this, let's play around with this a little bit. So there's some kind of box container. There's a thickness that I can control. That's the outside thickness. And that's the inside that we don't need to see for now, but we can adjust the box height, maybe that's width and the depth. Okay, and then once we're done with it, we just bake. So bake twice. So we have this box. Okay, this is really it's something that you can actually use. Maybe you need to do a little bit of UV texturing, maybe add a bit of ambient occlusion, baking, things like that. But it's quite decent, and you can put something inside it. So let's take a look how I created this using SVerchok add-on. So the nodes is actually only under 20 nodes or so, and the one that's responsible, I started with a plane actually. I think the first one, I started with this node. Supposedly, so the idea is just start with a plane like that, and then you extrude it, and then you create an inset or some set, like extrude in and then down. I think that's probably how I created this one. If you're thinking to make a different shape, so this is something that can slide in and out, maybe more like a drawer. You probably want to start with the different shapes. With this one, I actually just use plane. Okay, and I believe I can slide in and out. Okay, this is the slide. Okay, this is the offset. And if I actually increase the number here, so it's becoming slightly weird. This one doesn't have thickness. I mean, it can become something else if I just bake this guy. This one, it feels slightly incomplete because this one doesn't have thickness, but you can sort of work it out. A better way is that if I keep it just like before, and if I bake it and then kind of go inside, maybe just duplicate and then extrude a bit, and then select this part and then just extrude, and I mean just duplicate and duplicate. So this one a little bit better, but the way I set it up, it's slightly different. But you can see that's the original box. Let's actually slide this more, slide it out. So look at the plane. So there's a lot of things going on. Like this guy, I just need to hide it because now it's simply becoming something that's what do you call it? Parametric. Like each part is kind of dependent on each other. And at the very beginning, we have some kind of input, which is just a number. So that's really the whole point of this procedural and parametric design, even though it's the basic one. So like the thickness of the box, that's also important. So I make you some kind of ability to do this. I probably need to limit this so it doesn't go too far. So now it's a little bit more like a drawer because it's thick. It's not like a container box anymore. And slide in a little bit. Okay. So that's the plane, because the plane, and then I did like a flip normal, extrude separate. Okay, so I did some kind of extrusion there, and then solidify, of course. It's actually really basic. It's just a lot of things. It's kind of dependent on each other. That's why you have a lot of these lines, noodle, and so I started with this part, the blue part, and then I have another one. This one is really the width and the height is really dependent on the other guy. Same thing actually happening, slightly different the way I set it up, but so these end vertices need to stay just like that. All right, and we have matrix in, matrix apply. This all doesn't make sense now. They only make sense originally when I'm actually working on it. I would say it's slightly complicated, but once it's doable. It's almost like if you are coding and making some kind of simple app or a simple program, like just a macro. It seems complicated at the end, but not really. But so in the end, you have this parameter and you have this stuff. I decided to just separate these two. I could actually just demesh output it, but for now you can keep it like that. Turning this into a monad, I'm selecting the middle part, turn it into a group, monad, create monad. So now all this complex stuff is contained into a single node. So that's really the idea. And hopefully we can see something. Delete all this. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, the naming seems wrong. So that's width, height, okay, thickness. Where's the offset? That's the thickness of that guy. That's this. There's some weirdness happening there. Oh, the thickness. Okay. Well, it's because it's using the same name, that's why. But the width, etc., seems to be working. All right. once it is actually a monad, we can factorize and split. If you factorize and split, then you can have this control over width, height, and depth, and kind of randomize it. In my other example, this works. Okay, it's frozen. Interesting. But I think, yeah, like I said, we need some kind of procedural way to generate boxes. It's common thing in 3D, and then it's funny how it's 20-30 years in computer graphics, and then we don't have a way to create boxes. This should be just automatic. So this, I have this XYZ output. Okay. And here I actually enable factorize and split already, and these guys on top of each other. Let's line them up. How many do we have? 64 boxes. Hide this guy. Line them up. There you go. Same thing with the other guy. So we have all these boxes. We can randomize. Because I'm using this random vector, and separate the XYZ for the width, height, depth, and we can simply bake. So that's the result. Oops, we need to bake both. So the box, this is a case of having a box, but in reality, you can think at least 100 objects that you find every day. Things like picture frame, chair, table, lots of things that's actually supposed to be procedural, and then you still have to recreate them. I mean, depending on the movie and the style you're going for, but in general, we have some kind of standard of things. Toothpaste. But if we just filter out, just think of boxes, we really need a way to create boxes, drawer, maybe table. Like this setup can become, like I said, instead of just boxes, it can be like a drawer, and with maybe like an opening, like a cabinet, and then you can give it some kind of legs. You want 3 legs or 4 legs, how tall it is. It's all a matter of parametric design. Maybe out there's already an app of software that does it for you. I'm pretty sure, but it's probably can be quite costly. However, I really think it should be available as a Blender format, because everyone is using it every day. Things like, like things like pencil, any kind of box shapes model. I'm actually I think we can create like a bento box next time. I like bento box. It has this interesting variation inside it. Yeah, now if we have the container, we can also start to think the inside of the bento. So it's really interesting just how you present contents of some sort in a form that's actually looking interesting and beautiful. So that's really why I'm really into container, because we can hide objects inside it and then ask the user to open it. Even just that is really quite interesting and appealing. So anyway, that's the whole setup and how I created it using SVerchok add-on. The nodes itself, like I said, when I work on this for half hour or 1 hour, it makes sense for me, but after a while, okay, you look at it, okay, it becomes like a blur. But I told you what matters is just the plane and really how you think of a way to make it parametric and procedural. And once it's done, it's just a single node. This is something that I like to share with you guys. So yeah, hopefully this is useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.